Welcome to the $1 Billion Podcast, a weekly show about the entrepreneurial journey and making it big in any industry. We're your hosts, Joe White and Kane Gang.
And today we have with us Len Lane. Len, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, Len is the principal broker at Brokers for Life, and he has been since 2016. He has 17 plus years experience in the mortgage industry, which has really established him as a respected leader. He oversees brokers across Western Canada, Ontario, BC, and Nova Scotia. And in 2019, Len and his team won the Mortgage Awards of Excellence Alberta Brokerage of the Year Award. So Len, great to have you with us. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
How far back do you want me to really go?
Well, you know what? What I would love to hear is how you decided to get into this industry. What was what was that journey like for you?
Well, it kind of started, my previous life was in the home building industry. I was sales manager, general manager. I was in a show home for a better part of a decade. And I had lots of friends who were mortgage brokers, obviously, because they were looking for my business. A lot of them are still longtime friends. Some of them actually work for me now. But it was just that natural progression. I knew if I was going to do something other than being in a show home 6 days a week, it was going to have something to do with the financing side of it. So I had a bit of a leg up, I guess, on starting into the industry that I knew what lot, block, and plan actually meant before I started to actually take the course and become a mortgage broker.
Was there anything specifically at that time about this industry, about the mortgage side that attracted you? I mean, you could have done other things as well, right?
Yes, I was definitely offered positions with several banks, which will remain nameless. Part of the reason I'm here is because I saw what they had to offer, and someone showed me what the mortgage broker side looked like for doing the same thing. I long time history of working for other people and building their businesses. Always had what they call a side gig now. I always had a little business on the go of some kind all the way through my life, pretty much. And I saw this as an opportunity to be self-employed again. I've been on commission for a long time as well, so that wasn't that wasn't new to me. But it was that I looked at real estate itself, selling real estate, but that didn't appeal to me much more than being still sitting in a show home, because it's pretty much the same type of hours and kind of schedule where we've set up our business so that we have literally worked from Europe, Mexico yearly, just about. So it's that little bit extra freedom that you have other than being a real estate agent is really what appealed to me, I guess. And I became an agent with the thought of becoming a broker, and I did that within my first 3 years, right?
So it sounds like you have that entrepreneurial fire, and you've always had that.
Yeah.
What would you suggest to somebody who thinks that they have that entrepreneurial outlook on life? What would you suggest is most important for them, considering maybe coming into a career? Maybe I can rephrase that and say, if you were going to hire somebody, what would you be looking for from them?
That is a big part of it, is having that, whether it's, being on commission and being self-employed is quite similar, right? And that's definitely one of the things we look for. Maybe some sales, some sales background, there's no question, is an advantage. If understanding that weekend is not maybe Friday and Saturday, it's maybe Tuesday and Wednesday, or it's more of a state of mind around our house than it is an actual date on the calendar, right? So just you have to be that kind of flexible, and you got to understand that commissions ebb and flow, and no different in this industry than just about any of them out there.
And Len, just to build on, I really like Joe's last question. Is there anything you've identified? Now, you've seen successful agents come out that maybe were new in the industry, and then obviously there's those that don't find the same success. Is there anything that you find that's been common about those that do find success? Anything specifically that you could say, yeah, you know what, I look for someone with that competency or this behavior?
Yeah, you're going right off the start to go full time. We see it over and over again where people kind of muddle along and try to do, you can't do a 9 to 5 job and do mortgages as far as I'm concerned. We have the agents in the past who have started at 5 o'clock in the morning as meat cutters and were done at 2 in the afternoon. So their lunchtime was at mid morning, and then they were free and later in the day to continue to work on mortgages. But on average, it really is tough to do this part time anymore. It's you want to make any kind of a living at it, you want to make your full living at it. Uh, it really is that focus to get in and start and have some money tucked away, or in my case, I had a line of credit, right,
Yeah.
that had zero
Yeah.
balance on it at that time. But it's being able to put a full focus on it, because not unlike anything else you might sell, there's products to learn. You have to be in contact with your clients. You have to be in contact with your lenders. It's it is really a full-time job, and it shows. We have an agent who started 2 years ago. First full year in the business, $20 million. Did it again during the
Wow.
last year's downturn. He still did it, and this year is going to be spectacular for him. And he was driving a long haul truck before that, so
Wow. That's such
it
an amazing story. I'm sure
is.
that he's very happy with I guess what he's done with you over there as well. So
Yeah.
um you brought up an important point. We talk about this a lot, the part-time and full-time. Obviously, doing the course, we see a lot of people coming through, and that is something that we look to ask them, do you want to get part-time or full-time? And this is so I think the similar advice that we would give is, there has to be at least a transition period. If you, need to pay the bills for the first, 60, 90 days, okay, but there has to be a very clear path. And so my question is I guess a typical day, especially for a new agent in those first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, what does that look like, do you think, for them? Like, what are the activities that they're going to be doing when they wake up, and what does their day look like?
Well, hopefully they plan out their day to obviously keep learning about the product, keep learning about the different lenders. We have access to 20 plus, I'm sure, but in all reality, we always break it down for them is that you'll probably end up using about 5 out of that 20 on a regular basis. The other ones, you'll have some deals that might fit there, but the majority of your business will end up in about 5 places. So learn those 5 lenders well. Uh, no question, you have to get out and you have to talk to people. It's the same thing I tell everybody. It's like, if nobody knows you're doing this, that's who's going to send you business is nobody, right? So, uh, CRM programs have come a long way. 17 years ago, I would have told them, write down all your friends and family, put them on a nice piece of paper and set it on fire because they're not going to send you any business. But now with CRM programs, we can soft touch them with newsletters and things like that, and get that part of your business working faster as well. So CRM program is kind of key for us. Bring us an Excel spreadsheet of with contacts on it and email addresses, and we can at least get them started with an introductory letter, and then follow that up with setting them up on at least the newsletter, right?
Yeah, really important points. I think when you talk about a CRM program, you're talking at its core technology, a piece of technology. And what are your thoughts on new technologies come out every now and then, and now we've had some blistering AI come out. What are your thoughts on how, or maybe you could tell us how, if you've used this type of technology, or how it can be used really to help an agent or broker?
Yeah. You probably have heard that DLC is doing their Gold Rush program where they're setting everybody up. So that program is quite robust. For someone like me, like 600 or 700 personal customers, it's just a quick and easy way for me to be efficiently touching them, and getting them information on a regular basis about their mortgage status, how many anniversaries, things like that. We also added the SMS lately, so we're just really in the last week for myself, started to have that implemented as well. So we're starting to see a lot of response from that. AI, there's, the intuitive part is still somewhat in its infancy, I guess, when you think we're in maybe year 2 with AI, right? I'm not 100% sure, other than mining your database further to say, look for, lots of clients with more than one property, so checking if you didn't do the mortgage on the other ones, then it's helping us mine for that kind of information as well. So
Hmm.
it just kind of keeps growing. How much we can, how many more deals we can find that are hiding within our CRM programs, right? So
Yeah, we talk about this quite a bit, especially now, as you mentioned, with kind of year two into this now, with a lot of the AI tools that are available, and ChatGPT and other large language models, and how they can work, and the systems that work off of them. And I think there's a slight hesitancy with some people, but I think more than that, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are on this as well. Um, do you see a threat with these different tools and technology, a threat to the role of the agent itself?
uh, I don't know about if there's a threat to it. I think there still has to be a certain amount of human contact. Yes, it may, do more of the promotion side of the industry in the long run. And of course, the platforms are all set up already and have been for a long time in some cases to do the application and prompt the client as they go through the application as well, right? So it's still to be seen, I guess. Actually, we just finished the air report for Ontario, and in there is now two full sections on do you use AI? How are you controlling it, right?
Yeah.
And what kind of security are you using with AI as well, right? So there's a whole level of people thinking way up here above us that there's is there going to be a problem with AI? Is it going to
Hmm.
be too intuitive? And how do we make sure that it's secure, right? So yeah, a lot yet to be seen, I think, on where that will go, but I'm sure there's minds a lot better than mine that are looking at the million ways to make that work. So yeah.
I think
You know what?
yeah, go ahead,
Sorry,
Joe.
oh, sorry. Do you have a follow-up question, Kane,
No,
or
I just had another thought as you mentioned that, Len, that being in a regulated industry, it's things are pretty set so that it's not the Wild West anymore with brokeraging and brokering. So there needs to be, or there is parameters that even these AI tools have to operate within, and so it does actually in some ways help use those tools because you are at a certain capacity. But yeah, go ahead, Joe.
yeah, no, you know what, Lana, I love the brokers for life concept. When you came up with that, what was your thought process behind it?
There was another group that was trying to do something that would have been considered AI in those days. I called Lifetime Broker, but we called it Brokers for Life so many times that when we started our brokerage, we just sold the name really. Uh, but the tagline, though, Real Life Mortgage Solutions, was really what tied into that for us, right? That it's about doing what's right for the client. It's about doing what's making sure that they're in the right product, and all of that is and no two deals are the same, as you guys know. It's like there's no two mortgage applications that have identical. It'd be great if everybody was on a salary and everybody was had 800 credit scores, but that's not real life, right? So
Hmm.
uh, the Brokers for Life was that idea that yes, now the CRM programs are even extending that it's uh, anniversaries were letting them know when their anniversaries are. We're dealing with them long before, well, maybe not long before the banks now, but at about a 6 month stage before renewal, we're already talking to them and working through that. So, and the idea of even at renewal is we're going to go back over your file. We're going to see where you are today compared to where you were 5 years ago or 3 years ago, whatever whatever it is. But it's it is really part of it that we're part of your life, and we do have agents that have been with us 14 or 15 years since pretty much since day one. So it's their clients have are kind of part of the family, right? So every birthday gets celebrated, everything, every mortgage anniversary, and all of that as well. So yeah.
I think those are important points because some people look at mortgages as a commodity that are transactional, but I think the way you've nailed the simple line, being brokers for life is something that you can add value to somebody's life in all different stages of their life, right? When they're first time buyer to refinancing to maybe investing and
No,
it yeah.
from clients, well, that's quite a commitment. Like, yeah, it is. That's
Yeah,
that's the reality of a long-term business, I think, right? We see that now with some. I think there's four of the agents who've been pretty much here since day one, so it's like which is kind of unusual in any brokerage, I guess. But
Yeah.
their long-term business has keeps them active today. They don't if you do it right, you don't have to work as hard 15 years after you start,
right.
right? Yeah, or you shouldn't be, although they probably seem to. But it's just the reality of you can have clients for life. We had lots of when Merrick's was first starting. I had a lot of business with them. I probably sent them 20 million a year for about 3 years in a row, and I'm still getting paid on those clients. So yes, they're lifetime
Mm.
clients as well, right? So
So you say that you have a lot of agents who've been with you for their whole careers. That to me that speaks of having a fantastic culture within your brokerage. Um, Maybe you could tell us a bit about the culture of your brokerage. What is that like?
well, we I like to consider us as a group that they work well together. We have a Facebook page that's just the team, no outside influences from lenders or anything else. And I have a rule: if I catch you complaining on another site about a broker or or a lender, you're going to hear from me, and they know that. So that's why we've kind of kept that in house. But also within that page, uh, they're helping each other all the time. Like I can't know everything.
Hmm.
Although I feel like some days I'm still behind on some some topics, right? Don't do a lot of rental properties myself, but one of our agents, that's pretty much her specialty, right? So they ask questions within that page, and that's it's a safe place to ask. There's no
So it
such thing
sounds
as
like you have a really good collaborative teamwork environment where people are free and feel safe to ask. I would imagine any type of question because oftentimes pride gets in the way and but you have that open culture where people can collaborate. That's fantastic.
something called Wisdom Wednesday for the last 3 or 4 years, I guess, where Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock, that's the training session. If you want to run other ones, then do it within your groups. Because we do have three of our agents who are doing nothing, are doing training for new
Mm.
agents so that they come in. I just recently was talking with an agent who's moving from Ontario, and I go, "So you got licensed? What kind of training did you get?" Basic answer was nothing.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
sorry, we don't let you run by yourself here. It's you'll be assigned within a group, and you'll work with them till we feel you're confident enough and um, trained enough to deal with your own files front to back, right? So.
Now,
Uh,
Len, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm wondering if we were to ask your sort of top three agents right now, how important that mentorship piece was to them, especially when they were first coming into the brokerage or first coming into the industry. What do you think they'd say?
They still call me after 15 years. That's what it doesn't
Yeah.
end. And somebody asked me that the other day. So when does training end? I said, well, training never ends in mortgages because it changed again this week. No more first-time homebuyer incentive program, right? So
Yeah.
it's like there's always something that's changing, and I think that's important, and that's part of why we continue to train, we continue to mentor here, right? So it's as simple as that. It's rare to find, and in all honesty, the background to that was when I started, I had none. I was in Fort
Hmm.
McMurray as part of a group. Uh, People here in Edmonton, of course, I was the only one in Fort McMurray. Uh, but because I had a sales background, I put together a binder, and when new information would come out about whether it was Resmore in those days or Merrick's or MCAP or whoever was actually dealing in Fort McMurray, because they're all scared of it at one point or another in their life, that I had the information, and that was my sales training background. You had to know your product,
Yeah.
and mortgages, yes, as far as they may be a transactional product, they you still have to have it right when you do that transaction, right? That's funny you talk about transactional. I love transactional mortgage brokers because we get calls from people. Who is your mortgage broker? I have no idea. And we're like, well, great.
Yeah.
Let me show you how this really should have worked, right? So
I think that's a really important part, and that's something that maybe has changed over time as well. And what I mean by that is the sort of misconceptions about brokers, about what brokers do and who they are to their clients. And I think that uh, someone like yourself, Brokers for Life, just in the name, it's are changing that, right? And people are understanding more about what brokers do and how they work. Do you think that's still the case today? Are there a lot of misconceptions about mortgage brokers from the public?
Uh, Changing, obviously, our percentage of mortgages is getting higher every year. I think we're almost tied with the banks last year by the sounds of it. So, uh, but it's the generational thing. 25 years ago, I know some gentlemen that were mortgage brokers here 25 years ago and still are today. But then, yeah, you couldn't get a loan at the bank at all, right? And
Yeah.
you went to a mortgage broker because you needed some private money or things like that. And they charge as much in those days as they did today. So uh, it's kind of a changing attitude, and I think because more of it's online as well, and the next generations, I don't know which ones we're going through right now, millennials or whatever, but they end of the baby boomers. So my generation, the guys older than me would go like no, but they also they didn't have the money, they just didn't do it, right? So it was different, and
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm wondering, because you just touched on it a little bit, do you have any thoughts on what might happen with agents and brokers, like how the role could change? And you mentioned technology, maybe with the emergence of technology. What I know we touched on it a little bit, but I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts on like the actual role of the agent, how that might change or what they might adapt to.
Or if it
Um,
will change.
if it will change, yeah, maybe not. I know that you mentioned the human part's going to be important, but yeah, just curious if you have any other thoughts on that.
I think I always hope that we'll go like Australia and every bank will only have mortgage brokers working for them and everything will be on a trailer fee.
Yeah.
That's utopia for me as far as mortgage brokers goes, right? You just make sure they sign back up at the bank and you get paid again. But that's not reality, right? I think right now we're going through a wave of everybody wanting to do 3-year terms and
Mm.
shorter terms, rightly so. But is there going to be I think they're all hoping we'll be back to 2% mortgages, but that's not going to happen. So I think we'll see mortgages kind of flatten out in the low 4 ranges. But as far as long term, yeah, they still need advice. And I think more and more people are realizing that the bank employee is exactly that.
And it sounds like, Len, it sounds like you have, I mean, we talked about the culture earlier and sort of the feeling that you have over there. I would imagine over the years, you've taken a lot of your time, I mean, as is running a business and running people. So I'm wondering if you have any advice for those coming in, trying to become entrepreneurs, how they can stay motivated, how they can manage stress, and how they can find a balance in their life between, healthy sort of work-life blend.
But sure. But my wife is my business
or
partner. My wife's been
or
in the
is
industry 30
Len,
years.
is there a
She's
work
been,
life blend?
yeah.
Is somebody coming in have to be so dedicated that they have to tip the scale to the work part first before they can have a blend?
You lay down a base for any business before you get to have a lot of free time. My wife is my business partner. Margie runs the other part of the office. I deal with the agents and the lenders. But she does everything else. And she worked. She's been 30 years in the mortgage industry because she worked for Resmore at one time and Bridgewater
Mm.
Bank and a company called Pafco before that. So
Mm,
we've been around for for quite a while, right? Yeah. And Kane's never heard that name probably, but
yeah,
uh, only from Joe.
yeah, yeah.
right. So, it's different, I guess, when we're both involved. It is our life. If there's something we need to do on Saturday or Sunday, we just go do it. We also have a habit of, not a habit, a good habit, I guess, of long weekends. Try to extend them out to 4 days every chance you get, right? Take the Friday off and shut off the phone for a day. They'll all live until you get back on Tuesday, right? But or should. Well, that's the other thing. You can call me if you're in jail or if Rick has called you and wants to talk to you right away. But it just kind of trying to find that. We've worked on holidays, but that's just us, right? We're not everybody's going to want to do that. Uh, we're set up as a paperless office, so we've literally worked from Sweden. We've worked like I said in Mexico, uh, but it's a matter of okay, it's 2 hours here, hour there. It's not like we're going to go 8 hours and not go to the pool and or in my case go fishing, but it's
And
uh,
that truly is, Len, for you in your situation with your wife. That really is a balance then, because it must have its unique set of potential challenges, at least working with, your partner. I would imagine that, I mean, could be difficult for some other people to have that type of dynamic.
partner thing is a tough dynamic, I think, for most people. And we heard at a conference lately that there was 4 or 5 smaller groups that were splitting back up because they couldn't work together. But it's like, yeah, we worked together pretty much since the day the brokerage opened. So it works for us, but there are a lot of couples that we've seen over the years that it does not work for, and one needs to go here. I have an office. Margie works from home, which is fine, but that's just me because I
Is
like.
that, do you think that might be, is there any sort of secret here? Like, you think that might be part of the deal, that you separate actually physically during the day and that kind of helps keep the separation, or is just your personalities work well together for business too?
I think it works well for business. She tells me when I can't spend any more money, and then what I did this week, buying podcast equipment. But yeah, I think it's tough for a lot of people to do. It works for us. We have grandkids are the only other interest really. We when we travel, we're trying to see grandkids usually, and or we're out relaxing somewhere warm. We usually go away at Christmas just because there's about a 10-day period in there where you don't have to do anything. So you got to kind of balance that out as well, right?
Hmm.
Spend 3 weeks in Mexico, and part of that'll be over Christmas. It's not the cheapest time to go, but it is the time where we can actually do nothing for 5 or 6 days in a row.
Yeah, that's a good way to find the balance as well. Make sure
Hmm.
you shut it off when you need to.
Yeah, you got to shut it off eventually. I get she tells me. I point out that maybe you should take a few days off because it's a little too tight.
Yeah.
So do you have like a time at night where it's like, you know what, it's 9 o'clock, we're not talking business anymore, or anything like that?
No, she's very good about that. It's at 5 o'clock.
Okay, fantastic,
Right.
fantastic.
It used to be later in the evening, but over the years it's kind of got to okay, it's dinner time. What do we need to talk about? We'll talk about up to that point, and then yeah. So cooking is one of our relaxations, I guess. We actually have a keto cookbook that we've written as well. But so
Oh,
cooking on
cool.
Saturday and Sunday is something that takes a little bit of my stress off, I guess, as well. So.
That's really, I think, good advice. And the reason we were asking about this is I know that this is quite common. People that will have a personal relationship might think about getting into business together and that sort of thing. And so I think one of the one of the bits here that we're hearing from you is that to have some clear separation and boundaries, that you have kind of rules that you sort of follow, and that way you can keep them separate almost, at least during those times. For example, you said 5 o'clock or 9 o'clock, whatever it was. All right, Len, is there any other advice that you would have for someone that's maybe considering becoming a mortgage agent or getting into the industry?
Well, if there's anything that everybody needs these days, and it's to have a brokerage that does consistent, ongoing training all the time. Uh, Mentoring, like I said, was pretty scarce when I started, so I fortunately had some idea of how to separate the product and to go pound the pavement, as they say, right? It's I was in open houses, every chance that I wasn't working and things like that. So I actually started while I was still working for the builder in Fort McMurray, but they decided that I couldn't have a license, and my other option was to leave, so we parted ways right in the middle of the day. But it was. Uh, it takes time to build a business. Doesn't matter what you're doing, right? I had a small chemical business for quite a few years, and that took extra time, and it worked while I was in the show home because I didn't start the show home till 3 in the afternoon, so I was able to go do work in the morning. But I guess you better decide what your work ethic is, because that's the other part of it. That starting a business of any kind, and taking it to a point where I was fortunate in that first 30 months in the industry. I made $1 million in commissions, so it shot me ahead into the into some different areas that some people will never hit. But be prepared that if you're going to do it and do it seriously, to make a living at it, and if you want to make a six-figure living, then you got to look at your. We have an Excel spreadsheet that we give them and say, okay, how much money do you want to make? Here's our average mortgage. How many deals is that going to take? How many people are you going to have to talk to get to that deal, right?
Work backwards.
Right? So
Yeah.
work it backwards and start to figure that, if you need 4 or 5 deals a month to close, then you're going to do very well, but you're also going to have to work, right? It's not a handout business by any stretch of the imagination.
So I'm hearing work hard, be patient. I know it's especially difficult today with social media, and we see all the success around us, but patience really is, I think, key.
There's success in that social media stuff. Sometimes I kind of wonder, but
yeah,
taking it until you make it hard. I'm not quite sure for some of them. But
you see some of those kids renting out like a Ferrari for the weekend and renting out a house, and that's on their Instagram.
You worked for me for a while, but, not for long. But it is. It's not an easy business. It's like it has so many up and downs. Somebody asked me why I didn't go build houses after being in the housing industry for so long, and I said, well, it's pretty simple. I've seen them make a 3% profit and a 35% profit, but neither one of them could tell you what year that was going to happen in.
Yeah.
So it's mortgages have been good to us. There's no question that the consistent income more than covers what our household needs are by a long shot, and but we're also glad to see that. What makes me happy about the industry is helping people succeed. We've had 3 agents spin off and do their own brokerage. One guy did nothing but private lending, so that saved me a ton of money on but he wasn't gaining any other value from being with us. And we finally said to him, we went for dinner and said, you've grossed over $2 million in commissions. And you can see the math going on right away. So he was paying me, he was paying DLC, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, okay. And so within the year, we helped him get it set up, and he licensed in all 5 provinces, the same as we had, and super successful, super good at what he did as well, right? So
I think that's sometimes missed in the industry for those coming in that don't really understand that it is a wonderful industry for community. There's a lot of people like yourself that have found success and been really successful that actually want to give back and want to help others and see them succeed. And that's where you find a lot of the gratification. So there's enough business. So there's a lot of opportunity still, even though you're competing, with other brokers and agents and banks and other people, that there's still enough opportunity if you do work hard and you are patient and you are a student and you have a mentor, that it's a really wonderful industry.
Still to this day, probably go through about 10 emails in the morning that are what's this lender doing and what changed, and you see that all the time where they take out a program. They don't really announce taking out programs, but they do announce adding more ones in, right? So it is being a student of the product, and that consumes a fair bit of time, and you have to dedicate yourself to that in the mornings as well, right? In my opinion.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Len, any final thoughts that you want to leave our listeners with?
You're renewing your mortgage this year? No, I'm just kidding.
Call me.
That's
the other opportunity. There's so many mortgages renewing in the next 3 years, right?
Yeah.
I just think, if you're considering it as a career, then it does take work to get it started. But if you're using the programs that are available now, and who knows what AI will add to the CRM programs in the next couple of years, there's a great opportunity to be had in Canada. Continue to improve.
Excellent.
Decade.
And Len, you know what? You are inspirational. You have you represent, in my opinion, what's best in this industry, and that's the sharing, the mentorship. And obviously that has resulted in great successes for you. So we are overjoyed that you found the time to spend with us today and share your insights with us, because that's you are a phenomenal individual in this industry, and we appreciate your time.
Thanks for tuning in to the $1 Billion Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode.
For more in-depth entrepreneurial insights, follow us on social media, and for more info on the show, go to billiondollarpodcast.com.
See you next time.